Alright, welcome to another edition of the FantasyFix.com podcast. I'm your host, Brett Talley. We're here to talk daily fantasy strategy on July 24th for DraftKings. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at TheRealTal. Contest today, there's 11 games. DraftKings has got them split up into morning and night, or afternoon and night. There's 4 afternoon games, 7 night games. They don't have any contests where all 11 games are put together, so I'm focusing just on the late contests for the day. Start with the weather. There's really not much today. No rain concerns, really no strong winds. Only thing I can really point to is it's going to be 88 degrees at game time for the Tigers at Angels matchup, but you got Scherzer and Garrett Richards going there, 2 really good pitchers, good ballparks. That sort of offsets the good weather. Not really sure there's anything to take away from that. Let's talk stacks for the day. It's a little tough to do today just because there's not as many teams, and really the teams that have the best matchups are not the best hitting teams. Just looking at the pitcher projections I have, the 5 worst pitchers are facing the Twins, the Brewers, the Marlins, the Tigers, and the Braves, and those are all right-handed pitchers. The only one of those teams that's comfortably above average against right-handed pitching is the Tigers. However, they're facing Garrett Richards, who's been pretty solid this year. However, I do think it might be a decent play to go with the Tigers because I'm not sure Richards is as good as his basic numbers would indicate. I'm not as big of a fan of him. And then the Tigers are above average against right-handed pitching. That said, I don't know that I like a huge stack there. I know that I have Cabrera and Kinsler in one lineup. The other 2 guys I like are Avila and Torrey Hunter. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just looking at ISO versus right-handed pitching. I want guys who are going to get home runs. Cabrera and Kinsler are... Cabrera's well above average there. Kinsler is comfortably above average, not way above it, but comfortably. So you could stack those 2 together. But then the next 2 guys I like are Avila and Torrey Hunter. And they're going to be hitting, let's see, Kinsler, Cabrera should be 2-3, Hunter and Avila are probably going to be 6-7. So I don't like 2-3, then skipping 4-5 and stacking 6-7 together. So I might just be doing Cabrera and Kinsler together, and then Hunter and Avila together, but not all 4 in the same lineup. The Brewers, I think, are a good stack. They are slightly above average against right-handed pitching, and of those 5 teams I mentioned, Atlanta, Detroit, Marlins, Brewers, Twins, of those 5 teams, the Brewers are the only one in a really good ballpark. They're playing at home in Milwaukee. So, slightly above average against right-handed pitching, good ballpark. They're facing Dylan G, who I love, but I always have. If you've ever read my stuff, I'm a big Dylan G guy. But the projections I'm using today and the system I'm using doesn't really like him. In fact, it likes him about the least of anybody today. So I guess the Brewers are probably a good stack. Again, just looking at ISO against right-handed pitching because maybe it's not the best way to pick hitters, but I seriously, I just want power. I want bombs. I want to stack some guys together who can hit for some power and drive each other in. Best ISOs, the 3 guys that are, well above average against right-handed pitching are Braun, Gomez, and Chris Davis. And then you've also got Jonathan Lucroy, who's in there pretty safely. Also Mark Reynolds if he plays. I wish Scooter Gennett was playing today, but he's probably going to be out for a few days with a little day-to-day injury. He's also very good against right-handed pitching. If you go Braun, Gomez, Davis, Lucroy, I think it's a little hard to say how the lineup's going to be with Gennett out, but typically that's 1, 3, 4, and 6 in their lineup. Don't love that. I'm hoping they smush together. Maybe move Braun up to the 2-hole, Davis up to the 5-hole, and then it'd be 1, 2, 3, 5. I'd like that better. So keep an eye on that team and how that lineup comes out for a stack there. Make sure I'm not missing any other stack I used here. I did use the Mets in one spot just because I really like Daniel Murphy and Lucas Duda today. They'll probably be hitting 2 and 4 in that lineup. I went ahead and threw in David Wright to make it 2, 3, 4. They are facing, let me see if I can recall, Matt Garza. They're also in that Milwaukee game, so they're pitching in a good or hitting in a good park. Garza is about projected for an average score today, so it's not a terrible matchup for them. So Brewers, Tigers, and Mets. Those are your stacks today. Starting pitching, I like 2 cheap guys. I like 2 expensive guys. It's pretty simple. I like Wei-Yin Chen against Seattle. Seattle's a pretty lefty-heavy lineup. They've been about 20% below league average against left-handed pitching. I like Chen in Safeco against that lineup. Also like Edwin Jackson against the Padres. Even though Jackson's super shaky, it is at Wrigley, which is a good ballpark for hitters, but it's the Padres, man, and they're awful. So Chen and Jackson are your cheap options at pitching if you need it. Expensive options, I'm going to stay away from Scherzer against the Angels, not because I think he's going to have a bad game, but just because the Angels are above average. It is going to be warm there. It's just not the greatest matchup. The 2 expensive guys I prefer are Tyson Ross and Corey Kluber. Ross is opposite Jackson in that San Diego-Chicago game, so don't put those 2 together. I wouldn't play them in the same lineup, but I do like Tyson Ross, and I also like Corey Kluber against the Royals. The Cubs have been 20%-ish below league average against right-handed pitching, and the Royals are about 10% worse. So Chen, Jackson cheap, Kluber, Ross expensive, Mets, Tigers, Brewers are your stacks. Good luck to everybody tomorrow, and I will be, not tomorrow, you'll be listening to this today. Good luck on Thursday, and I'll be back with another podcast tomorrow.